is the environment in Man United toxic, or is it that these players or these coaches cannot handle the pressure?
Man, there's no way you tell me that the players cannot handle the pressure because if we go back to someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, which we all know is one of the greatest players of all time, if when he went back to Manchester United the first year, he was able to deliver the club. He was able to build them out consistently, in the group stages
Mm.
during the Champions League, and he scored in almost every match. But the next season, we all saw what happened with him and Eric Ten Hag, and he ended up scoring just like 17 goals in the calendar of the year, and that's the lowest he has ever scored in his entire career
Mm.
from when he started scoring goals. But you've seen that since he moved to Al Nassr, he's been scoring goals. He's picked up scoring 50 something goals. When you check now, the most recent one, Anthony, he just moved to La Liga. You cannot tell me that La Liga it's
People are saying it's the Farmers League.
exactly, but that's we all know that that's a misconception because the truth is whenever an English team has even met a Spanish team, we all know what has happened most of the time. Who comes out on top, So, but the thing is, he's expressing himself now, and if I'm being honest, Real Betis plays way better football than Manchester United, so he has the opportunity to play with players and just express himself. Someone said that Anthony, we did not even know that Anthony could throw a backflip, and now we've seen him doing it because Man U was, stop like halting his ability to even celebrate. So it's crazy that we're seeing these things happen even to the coach right now, Almarim. He was an exceptional coach at
Yeah.
Sporting, but now he's suffocating at Manchester United. And I also think one of the problems with Manchester United has to do with the ex-players, the media, always, the pressure that comes with the club, always wanting them to perform, and the environment is
All right.
definitely a toxic place.
Okay. You've given me some examples and some good references. Anthony, the most recent, fantastic player. We know how he used to play before he came to United, and he basically became a meme. And for some
Yes.
reason, there were some memes about him being the best in the world, and I think that meme might actually come true with the way he's playing right now. If he stays in Betis, who knows? Maybe get a move to Real Madrid or Barcelona. We don't know, but the question still remains: the culture in Man United, the environment. Ronaldo came out to talk about it. Some players have spoken about it, and you made a point there about the ex-players getting involved. And I'll ask you this question, Mr. Fairplay. We've seen, I'll be very specific, no need to hide anything. Gary Neville,
Yeah.
Rio
Yeah.
Ferdinand, Roy Keane, Patrice Evra. These are some of the most vocal former Manchester United players. There are also a number of players who used to play for United who also talk about United, but these are like the most famous. Do you think these guys, knowingly or unknowingly, have some sort of impact on the environment and the performance of these players?
Absolutely, you can't rule out anything. The Manchester United environment is very toxic. Like Handy rightly mentioned. I mean, if a player like Cristiano Ronaldo, who has seen it all, can come out and begin to criticize issues in the club, made mention of chef, made mention of equipment here and there. That in itself,
He
it's
made
a
he made he
problem.
made he
Manchester
made
United.
mention of who? In the
Like the food.
hungry.
It's part of it. It's very important as well. Manchester United is one of the biggest club in world football. There's no doubt about that. Forget their position. They are a massive club. So when you play for Manchester United, there is always going to be pressure. But there is this extra pressure from these former players. I don't know. Is it that they don't want the younger generation to be better than them or what? You can, as a legend of a club, your job is to help, not putting unnecessary pressure. Roy Keane, for example, say he's not a fan of the club. This
Yeah.
same Roy Keane, once Manchester United plays, and somehow the result doesn't go Manchester United way, the first thing you hear for Roy Keane is they are not good enough. They can't play for this batch. If he was a coach, he will leave them. He won't. They won't
Yep.
join the boss. Like stuff like that. Those are not the kind of things these players need. This generation is different. The
I
old
was just about
generation,
to
you
add
are
that.
there's little about the finance and other aspects. It's about the game. You just want to kill yourself. But this generation, they are different. So you need to, kind of help them out. I saw one of Rio Ferdinand's podcasts. He was talking to Leno Euro, the young French defender, and he was asking him to mention defenders that are better than himself, as in defenders that are better than Rio Ferdinand. I'm
Yeah,
not
it
even
was
sure
just
that's
so much
necessary.
pressure. Yeah.
You
And the
understand?
only
The
name
only
he could call
player
was Sergio Ramos, right?
was Sergio Ramos, because but for me, do you need all that? This
It's
is a young player
unnecessary.
who just came to the club. Why are you putting him under such pressure? You want him to worship you, and then when he gets back to the club, some of these things begin to play in his mind. Let me also bring my club Arsenal, for example, not like we're doing well per se, but I saw an interview after a game where Ian Wright was the one asking Gabriel Martinelli some questions. And Martinelli, before he even answered the question, first thing he did was to appreciate Ian Wright, the way he defends him, the way he advises him, and all that. And he openly said, I love you. Things like that, they are little things, but they could go a long way. But these other guys around Manchester United, they're making the environment too toxic, and it's not good for the club.
Hmm. Okay, I actually understand what you're talking about, and I think even Ferdinand himself also, I think he talked about them having a WhatsApp group for former Man
Mhm.
United players, and they throw
Wow.
banters. And I'm not blaming them for what's happening. Like, I mean, I'm not blaming them, but sometimes you've got to look at it and see some things that have been happening, and it's not encouraging. For me, it puts them under a lot of pressure because you can't have Rashford performing like
Exactly.
how he is for Aston Villa, and you see players leaving a club and they seem to be happy leaving that club.
Yeah.
Alexis Sanchez left Arsenal for United, and the
Exactly.
very first thing he said was after the first training session, he told his agents, "Can I go back?"
Hmm.
And then
Exactly.
we've seen Sancho almost like
Yeah.
throwing a party for leaving United,
So
and
many.
he's
Di
still
Maria.
he's still a United
Di
player.
Maria too.
You saw
Di
what
Di
Maria.
Maria said it was a mistake.
Yeah, you
Mhm.
saw the post, the comment Sancho made
Rashford.
under
Yeah.
Rashford's
On the Rashford's post.
on
Yeah.
his
The
Instagram post.
freedom.
Freedom. There's no coming back
It's
from that.
insane.
There's no coming
Yeah.
back.
Do you understand?
So
Obviously. See, even before when he came back to Manchester United from Borussia Dortmund, he didn't change his picture, his profile
profile
picture. It
picture.
was still that of Dortmund. Till he moved to Chelsea, then he switched it up. So it just shows you that the environment is just toxic, even for these players, but they just cannot express themselves the way they should because
Well,
they're contracted.
all right. I think we've talked about United enough. We've got other things to talk about. We'll also talk about the Champions League games. But before that, there's also another side that's got the same issues with Man United. Definitely not Tottenham Hotspur because we know Tottenham. They actually just their level, but Ange has been under a lot of pressure. But we
For sure.
know that is the history of the Tottenham. we know that this man is a good coach, but I think the only good thing he has done was his first 10 games in charge. After that, it has been one story to the other. One story. I heard someone say Tottenham Hotspur, they are competing with the NHS right now because they need a lot of medical staff to help their team.
Exactly. They've
From
been having so many injuries.
Yeah, like even if you give them a guitar, they couldn't pull a string because they keep pulling hamstrings every time. So
Oh
so
man.
away from Tottenham, let's go to the Blues, the men in Blues, briefly. What's up with Chelsea? I thought they were title contenders. But
Hmm.
right now, since December, they have won only 2 games. I don't understand.
I think
What's the
it
problem?
go. I think it has to do with their coach, first of all. Him saying he's been saying it all season from the beginning that that they're trying to make top four. And the fans, because they could see the results at that point, they were all believing that they could be title contenders. But along the season too, they've also had injuries, in their defense, and every team, have had to adjust with the amount of games and the amount of injuries, especially to key players in different positions. But I think overall, Chelsea, they've been underwhelming in the past months, and they need to step up because I think the top four race this season is extremely difficult because you have teams like Nottingham Forest that have been exceptional. You have Bournemouth that they've been performing at the highest level you could ever, and you have teams like Newcastle too that
Fulham.
they could Newcastle could just go on seven winning streak, then they might lose like four games. And Fulham too, like you well mentioned,
Yeah.
they've been right there. And Man City too, they've been picking up the pace. So I think it's
Nobody's talking
really
about Bournemouth.
Yeah, yeah.
I
He said
mentioned
them. He
that. No,
said
I
them. He
did.
said
I
them. He said
mentioned the,
them.
yeah, I mentioned Bournemouth.
Yeah.
I was like, Bournemouth have been exceptional, like in their past 20 games, it's been brilliant football from both, and not just the way they play, it's the way they've been able to beat these big teams too that will come to their, to the stadium. It's really been exceptional.
Okay.
So I think Chelsea, they'll find it difficult to make it in top four, as the coach rightfully said.
Well, I think the coach has actually prophesied their downfall. He was trying to be humble, but he just spoke it into existence. If
Yeah.
not, they were doing well. But I know we didn't plan to talk about this, but it's just a thought that came to my head. Correct me if I'm wrong. Are we seeing more injuries in the game now? Because almost every week you go online and you find a big player, going on a long-term injury. Are we seeing more injuries right now in the game?
Clearly, there are more injuries
100%.
because the number of games that these guys are playing, the intensity of the game as well is from here to here. In the past, most teams don't press. You just have an organized team. You rely more on your defensive midfielder winning the ball, and then you start knocking the attacking midfielder. Most times are luxury players. They don't run, they don't chase the ball. You just win the ball. But the game has evolved. The game has evolved. The game is played in a very high intensity. Every single player is expected to run. No more luxury. Attacking midfielder, striker, you run for 90 minutes. You press these guys, you press like your life depends on it.
Kai
So
Havertz.
the more you exactly, the more you work, with that level of intensity and all that, it stretches your muscle. So sometimes an injury that could be easily avoided, once it gets to that level, you're just within the limit of breaking down. And so there are a lot of injuries, and there is almost nothing anyone can do. The players are complaining that the games are too much. Both UEFA, FIFA, the clubs increasing games. In the past, when you have international breaks, sometimes it's just a mere friendly match where you can change 12, 11 players. You don't play the game like it's a do or die affair. But now there are almost no friendly matches anymore. It's now Nation League, and the Nation League is a competition. So it's stretching the players beyond their limit. So these injuries that we're seeing, I don't think it will stop until the players or maybe medical doctors come up with something that could help, which I really don't know how that will work, but something has to be done. UEFA, FIFA, they need to sit down, and there's always a case of
Yeah.
they pay them a lot of money, so they should play. But
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it's better not
it's
to
not
pay
good
them that
enough.
amount of
Yeah,
money
You
to
know,
them
you
and
fit.
know, you know
So
something.
it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Correct me again if I'm wrong. I think apart from the number of games, because not every team plays this number of games, but I'm looking at it like the way they play and the way they train, the demands,
exactly. I was about to
Mm,
the
mention the
demands of the
train.
game now. It's almost like
What?
exactly.
it's more physical. You've got to be very fit. You've got to, like you said, run. You've got to be very strong. So it's
Very
almost like they are
strong.
focusing on their fitness too much. That's why we have very few players who can use their brains.
Exactly. They're
If
all
you
like,
compare it
yeah,
to the past,
yeah.
everyone
Like
wants to be
In the
fit.
past.
they play now like like they literally studied how to play from
Yeah,
a manual, and it's that's why you see when them that's why you see fans when they see players with a little aesthetics, with players like Pedri. As a Real Madrid fan, I know why I'm
Mitoma.
calling this. Yeah, like when they see this, they
Palmer,
get
Palmer.
excited because they're like, these are things we don't see
Yeah,
again.
Don't
They
see
will
them
love,
anymore.
yeah, you love it when we see something extremely different. So that's what we get, from the way the game has evolved to.
and did you
And
notice?
also,
Yeah, go
sorry,
on, go
I
on,
was
go
just
on.
yeah, just to add again, another thing is they've taken out, the away goal rule in the Champions League, for instance, in the European competition. So when you go to another person's home this time, there's no, oh, we're sitting back, we just want to relax and make sure we don't
Defend.
concede so that we can, yeah, there's none of that. So everybody's coming out to go out and win the game, and that's why you see the like the score line, for instance, for like that of Real Madrid and Man City has always been, very high and we've had like 1-1 games, but yet you could still have like a 4-3 scoreline too.
I was also about to say, with the way players play these days, the high intensity. If you have noticed, when maybe a player is down and there's a break in play where they go to the bench to talk to the coach, pay attention. You will notice that some of these players they go there and they take something, they drink something.
Yeah.
I don't know
They
what
drink
exactly.
water, juice, yeah.
Not water,
Juice,
not water.
juice, yeah.
Some take some energy boosters.
Yeah.
And there was some I read something somewhere. There's something they take. I think similar to I God, I've forgotten this substance, but it's a substance they take just to give them energy, and it's almost like they are draining every bit of these guys now. So because we pay you, we are going to squeeze the life out of you. You know, a
Exactly.
lot of players are injured, but they give them some sort of painkillers, something to just take and just get on with it, and it's killing the game. It's really killing the game. But anyhow, maybe we'll do more research and break it down some other time. But it's a big issue. I had to bring up that issue because I just saw Nicholas Michael Jackson, if you know what I'm talking about, injured. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go down to Real Madrid. We had some issues with Real Madrid over the weekend. They didn't win this time around, but they had like what's it called, a draw. But
Yeah. The first time
Jude
in
Bellingham was sent off.
almost
So
yeah,
quickly, what happened? Was that a red card?
yes, it wasn't actually. We all know there's no way you can get sent off for making an expression, even if it was to the referee, like fuck off. But if you can see the images, he wasn't even looking at the referee when he said it, and he was saying to the referee that I'm talking to you, I'm speaking to you with respect, and then the referee was like, he was like, oh fuck off, and the referee assumed that what he heard was. And it's surprising that I've seen on Instagram that the referee is actually following about four English language learning accounts. So apparently he's been learning English, but he hasn't been learning the right way. So that cost Real Madrid a lot. And this is the first time since in a while. I think since Zinedine Zidane, the Real Madrid has gone 3 games in La Liga without a win. And that has given Barcelona the opportunity to go on top. Maybe by the end of this video or by the time you'll be posting it, Barcelona might be on top with the goal difference. But this just shows, I think personally, I think when Real Madrid came out to complain about the referees, right? I think it was like, yeah, like this is too much. But it's like the referees or the referee association, they've gone ahead to prove that yes, this point that Real Madrid made is actually something that it's worth looking into, and it's sad, you know.
Are you gonna appeal?
Well, yes, definitely, 100%. Real Madrid is definitely appealing the red card, but to me, it's not just about appealing; it's about the points that we've dropped because we were exceptional in the first 20 minutes, before all of that happened, and it just changed the game.
Okay. Let's go into Champions League quickly. I think we've got like 5 minutes to go. Real Madrid versus Manchester City, the return leg. Real Madrid with the advantage. How do you see this one going? Because I know City will come all out and try to attack and get some goals. But of course, Real Madrid have got the tools to catch them on the break. Is that what's gonna
So.
happen?
Well, for starters, I think it's going to be a highly entertaining game, and where I'm very concerned is Real Madrid's defense. Are we going to maintain the same defensive pair of Chouameni and Raul Asensio that has been exceptional, or are we going to pair Raul Asensio with Rudiger because
What
Rudiger has started training?
which do you prefer?
Honestly, if I'm being honest, I would prefer Raul Asensio and Rudiger if Rudiger is fit. If Rudiger is fit, even if it's 90%, I would want him to start in that central defense because he's very important. Alaba has been training, but I don't think he's ready yet to start in this kind of high intensity game. So, but even if Rudiger is not fit, Chouameni has been doing a good job. But the only issue I have with Chouameni is that as a player that is not a natural defender, he lacks the awareness sometimes. When it comes to what goes on. But the grace we have is for the exceptional leader and player we have in Valverde. Playing the right back gives us a lot of coverage. I would no disrespect to Lucas Vasquez, but Valverde gives us so much more because he has the pace to run up and down. So I think Real Madrid's attack is the only thing that will be too much for Man City to handle. But they ought to be careful too, and they ought to know that Manchester City will be coming all out. But I think Real Madrid will be just too much for City to handle, especially this game being at the Santiago Bernabeu.
All right, Mr. Fairplay, what do you think about the game and which other Champions League game catches your attention?
I think first of all, the Real Madrid Manchester City game, like Andy said, is going to be a very interesting game. Manchester City surprised me the weekend against Newcastle, not because they won against Newcastle, but I think it gave me a clue of what to expect from Manchester City next season. Some of the players who are probably on their way, and the new generation players who are going to take over. Because we saw a team where Kevin De Bruyne was dropped, Bernardo Silva was dropped, Diaz was dropped, and then it was the young generation, and these guys came with a little bit of fight. What I've not seen from Manchester City for the past few months or thereabout. So they were really working really hard. Now there is Nico Gonzalez in the midfield. It gave them a bit of stability in the midfield, something they've not had for months. So they look like a different Manchester City. And I know Manchester City is a big team. So they will definitely go to the Bernabeu with the intention of playing and not defending. But at the end of the day, once that Champions League anthem comes up, Real Madrid are a different team. So
Sorry,
they don't even
Champions League anthem or Real Madrid anthem? What do you mean? It's the Real
Yeah,
Madrid
I like
anthem.
that. I like that.
remember this anthem. So these guys you might have possession, for like 70 minutes of the game, and you're even leading 1-0. But then the last 20 minutes, you just see a different spirited 11 players on the field just running riots. Now, when it gets to that stage, can Man City hold their own? That's where the problem is. So it's just going to be another entertaining game, just like we saw in the first leg. Well, at the end of the day, they already have the advantage. So I don't see Manchester City winning with 2 goal advantage and Real Madrid not. So I tip Real Madrid to qualify. And then talking about a few other games that might be very, very interesting. AC Milan lost away to Feyenoord. So that's going to be interesting how AC Milan will cope against it, because in that first game, Feyenoord played really, really well in the first
Oh,
half.
yes,
And
yeah.
then they got to Juventus who won 2-1 against PSV. And they were not really at their best. They only won because somehow they fought
Compact.
for it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And now you're going away to play against PSV. So it's a
But I
tricky
think I
game
think I
that
think I think they will have a boost too, with the win that they just had against Inter Milan this weekend.
against Inter
That
Milan.
is, yeah,
Well, that's true.
that was a huge win for Juventus and
Very,
especially for
very, very,
Thiago
very.
Motta. I think that would really be a good match to watch because every time PSV and Juventus have met so far, both teams have always scored, and it's been an interesting game. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if this was an MMA podcast, I would say my sleeper fight. So my sleeper game or my
mm,
sleeper tie for that for the match day would be Atalanta versus Club Brugge.
yes, another game.
Don't
So that
forget,
would be another
That's
important one.
another
yeah,
Club
tricky
Brugge
game.
won 1-0. So
two one,
I think 2-1. Sorry, sorry, sorry.
2-1.
I was, yes. I was just about to say Atalanta has
But
been
with a
struggling.
dubious penalty.
They've been struggling since Lookman has been injured.
yeah,
So it's no coincidence that, he's been one of their most important players,
yeah.
and they really do need him, in this last part of the season. So
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes, but just in 30 seconds, this question has been I've been carrying this for a long time. My man Kelechi Iheanacho has moved to Middlesbrough. He's 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 still trying his best to find his form, but just in 30 seconds, please, what's up with Kelechi Iheanacho? How will a player this young just lose his form this badly?
I think it has to do with profile. I've always talked about this is something hopefully one day I will sit and analyze for a very long time. I've talked about players' profile. These guys, people like Kelechi Iheanacho, are systematic players. They fit into a particular system. Once they don't find that system, it's always very difficult for them. He is not an out and out center forward, and he
Yeah,
is not a creative number 10, but he is something in between.
in between,
You know,
like a
a football
supporting
striker.
striker, which doesn't really exist again in modern football. Hmm.
Once they don't find a team that fits their profile, they struggle. They can actually play center forward and then a good run of form, 5, 6 games they score, and you think, I told you he can score goals. Yeah, he can score goals, but it's a thing of profile. Players like that, if you don't find the right system for them, you're going to have a problem.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I wish we could stay longer, but that will be it for now. Thank you so much, Handy. Thank you, Eva, Mr. Fairplay. And for you who
It's
just
been a
watched,
pleasure.
please make sure you subscribe to this channel. It's Soft Sports TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms, and we shall be back with more videos. And for now, we say peace out.
Ciao, ciao.